frontier, can we think for a moment about what was involved in crossing the cultural frontier? This particular cultural frontier. It's the frontier between the Judaic and the Hellenistic world. And first of all, perhaps, let's remember that we're coming here into a globalizing culture. People talk now as though globalization is a thing which has suddenly happened in our time. Globalization has gone on in many centuries for a long time. Empires are of their nature globalizing because they mix people up. They bring together people who have nothing else in common. They move people around. They create cultural collisions. And they can make the conditions where these things flow together. And I think one of the great globalizers of all time was Alexander the Great. Alexander of Macedon, over here, northern Greece and Bulgaria nowadays, great soldier, conqueror, who brought the whole of the Eastern Mediterranean under his sway, occupied the whole of the Middle East, across into India. A great empire built up by this young man. He was barely 30 when he died. He was not only a considerable soldier, he was a cultural imperialist. And it's to Alexander that we owe Hellenistic civilization. The word Hellenic means Greek. The word Hellenistic, you might say, means Greek plus. It's Greek applied to other things. It's the Greek globalizing factor. The Greek that absorbs other cultures and brings them together. When Alexander died, his empire broke up and was left with three centers, one in the Balkans, one in Syria, one in Egypt. But all these bits of empire, which you might say are the heart of Alexander's empire, retained and increased the use of the Greek language. With the Greek language went a Greek lifestyle. You always know now when you've come to an Islamic city. The architecture will tell you. You will always know in the ancient world when you've come to a Greek city, because the architecture will tell you. There'll be buildings of a certain sort, and there'll be buildings of certain uses that perhaps the original inhabitants of these areas did not have before. Libraries, for one thing, bathhouses, for another, public baths, gymnasia, stadium, athletic stadia, things of this sort are specifically Greek inventions, and they're acculturating inventions. The gymnasia, gymnos, you know what gymnos means? Greek, naked. The point about the gymnasium is that this is where people went naked. Quite countercultural for huge numbers of people, but becomes part of the Greek world. With it goes, with this Greek language goes a literature hundreds of years old, which has got classic status, poetry, history, philosophy. Every educated person, wherever they come from in the world, if they have participated in Greek culture, knows this literature. And they know the ideas that come from it. And many people who don't read the literature or know very much about it are still influenced by the ideas that come from it. So this Hellenistic civilization develops over the whole of the East Mediterranean area, incorporating much of the Middle East. So notice that Greek, in this term, in this setting, doesn't have anything to do with race. It's not an ethnic term. It doesn't mean that you come from Greece. Though Hellene really did mean that originally. It's got nothing to do with the colour of your skin or with where you were born. It's not an ethnic but a cultural term. It means that you're participating in Greek culture. And for that you can be any colour, be born anywhere in the world. Because there are only two sorts of humanity. The Jews knew that. The Jews knew that there was the nation and the nations. People in Hellenistic situation knew there were Greeks and there were barbarians. And if you weren't Greek, you were barbarian. Greek means to share Greek language and Greek culture. And barbarian means, well, barbarians are barbaroi. That is, people whose language is all barbar. People who don't speak proper languages, but this barbar noise that uneducated people speak. So here's our globalizing factor over the whole of the East Mediterranean. What did it do to religion? In some ways, not much, and in other ways, a lot. Not much in the sense that, I was going to say the Greeks weren't very good at religion. They did not develop any great religious themes. they had a polytheistic understanding of God. The Greek philosophers had thought about this and had moved in different directions, some virtually pushing God out of the picture, others refining the picture to draw towards a single deity. But at street level, what was happening was that you could add the Greek names of divinities to the names that you already had. And you could produce a sort of generic religion that could serve any sort of purposes. And this popular religion had really not very much to do with philosophical thought. That was another realm. What happened with popular religion very often was that it could be used politically. Rulers could be saluted as divine figures. And frequently were. And in the Eastern Mediterranean, kings and rulers are often are often described as divine. Yes, I held back because I knew I wasn't tall enough. We know who could do it.